Have you ever wondered what happens when potential meets reality in the high-stakes world of football? Welcome to prestigious sports, where today's tale is woven with dreams, ambition, and the harsh truths of the beautiful game. We're spotlighting Manchester City's golden generation, Phil Foden, Jadon Sancho, and Brahim Diaz. Once the pride of the City Football Academy, now their stories have diverged in unexpected ways. Stay tuned as we uncover the choices that shape their destinies and ask ourselves, what does it truly take to rise to the top? Phil Foden, Jadon Sancho and Brahim Diaz were hailed as Manchester City's golden generation, poised to lead the club into the next decade. However, fast forward to 2024, and only one of these three players remains at Manchester City, as the richest club in world football invests heavily in youth. In today's video, we'll delve into the paths these three superstars took, whether they made the right or wrong choices, and the common thread that binds them in 2024. But before we get to where they are now, let's go back to where it all began. In 2014, Manchester City announced the opening of the CFA, City Football Academy, a central hub aimed at developing top talent and nurturing Manchester's youth into potential title winners. The city's chairman, Khaldoun Al-Mubarak, spoke about the 6 years of research and construction that went into building this cornerstone of the future, a vision for youth development and sustainability. The plan was to educate talented young footballers on and off the field, with the vision of integrating them into the first team in the years to come. This marked the beginning of Manchester City's dominance in youth football. The under-18 side at the time boasted all three of the players we're discussing today, who collectively commanded a transfer market valuation of £190 million. Phil Foden, Jadon Sancho and Brahim Diaz dominated the youth football scene with their technical mastery, paired with the invaluable football education provided by City. Discussions began about whether they were ready to leap to first-team football. In May 2017, there was talk of a trio of academy players so impressive that they would be fast-tracked into the senior team. Brahim was 17, Foden and Sancho were 16 at the time, and the comparisons to the brilliance of City's golden generation were inevitable. It was rare for 16 and 17-year-olds to be spoken of in the same vein as Manchester City's three, highlighting their exceptional quality. Brahim Diaz made his debut on September 21st, 2016, coming on as an 80th minute substitute for Sancho in an EFL Cup tie against Swansea City. A year older than the other two, Brahim was seen as naturally ready sooner, while Sancho, with his physical prowess, was perhaps considered more physically ready compared to the skinnier Foden. However, Sancho was initially seen as the least naturally talented, needing more coaching and work than Foden. All three faced the challenge of breaking into a Manchester City side stacked with quality with senior players like David Silva, Aguero, De Bruyne and Sterling. Despite their quality, it took a lot of work for teenagers to get minutes, even with their undeniable talent. Manchester City's staff tried integrating the youngsters into the first team through training and occasional appearances on the bench. Foden eventually made his debut on November 21st, 2017 in a Champions League game against Feyenoord, coming on in the 75th minute for Yaya Toure. This marked not only Foden's Champions League debut, but also Brahim Diaz. Sancho, however, never made his senior debut for the club. It seemed as though City had ready-made attacking talent that could have saved them hundreds of millions. But things didn't unfold as planned. especially for Jadon Sancho. Similarities were about to develop between all three players, yet those similarities led them down very different paths. Players as talented as these three have to back themselves, and that's what they all did. In the pre-season of 2017, Jadon Sancho's head began to turn, reportedly seeking a move for more playing time. He accepted a move to Borussia Dortmund, one of Germany's biggest clubs, a transformational step for English talent to play first-team football abroad. The implications were massive, as an English talent leaving his home country for first-team football abroad was relatively unheard of at the time. In the years that followed, we saw the likes of Jude Bellingham follow a similar path. Sancho's move set a precedent for other young English talents to consider moves abroad for crucial playing time. This left Brahim Diaz and Phil Foden in Manchester until 2019, when Real Madrid came knocking for Brahim. Despite the plan and path set out for him at Manchester City, Brahim, who had grown up in Spain, had his head turned by Real Madrid. It might have seemed confusing to discard everything for a Real Madrid side stacked with talent, but Real Madrid was Brahim's dream club, the only club he'd consider leaving Manchester City for. Perhaps Brahim was driven by his heart, believing he was good enough to make it there. Sancho had shown the same belief in himself by making the move to Dortmund. Both of his teammates were getting moves to Champions League caliber sides, and the gem of the academy, the most native to Manchester, stood alone. Media noise questioned whether it was the right decision, especially as Sancho, the comparatively lesser talent, was performing at a world-class level, putting up 20 assist seasons and attracting widespread praise from senior national team stars. However, Brahim's dream transfer to Real Madrid, although idealistic on the surface, presented similar challenges in terms of game time. He was not given many minutes in his initial year at Real Madrid, with a clear path to the first team not evident. He was sent on loan to AC Milan the following year, with the promise of greater minutes and a chance to showcase his potential. Foden, on the other hand, continued his less immediately gratifying development in the background. However, the 2020 to 2021 season marked a more public change in his career. In a similar manner to Brahim Diaz, Phil Foden's undeniable talent was evident to those who closely followed the academy trio. However, Sancho's standout performances at Dortmund made it difficult for the public and national team coaches to ignore. The overtly game-changing actions, such as goals and assists, Sancho's specialities, for example, took precedence in the eyes of many fans, even if Foden's intelligence, understanding of space, and technical mastery were equally impressive. Foden's versatility and ability to play in various roles allowed him to excel, particularly in a false nine role during Manchester City's title-winning campaign in the 2020 to 2021 season. This was a season that remains somewhat overlooked, despite Foden eventually winning the Premier League's Young Player of the Year award. Meanwhile, Sancho made a massive move to Manchester United for £80 million, seen by some as a relative betrayal. The hype surrounding his move from the blue side of Manchester to the red side was immense. However, Sancho's time at Manchester United was not as successful as hoped. There were whispers of an inability to meet the sharpness expectations, coupled with reports of persistent lateness. Sancho struggled to find his rhythm, partly due to the crowded field of talent at United, including the likes of Marcus Rashford. This crowding limited his playing time and possibly hindered his development. However, it wasn't solely Sancho's fault. A myriad of factors, including the team's overall situation and coaching setup, contributed to his decline. The more measured and gradual rises of Brahim Diaz and Phil Foden's careers were underway. Foden's minutes were managed sensibly, protecting him from injuries that could have derailed his path to greatness. His talent, coupled with a stable environment, location, and coaching, began to flourish. By 2024, he will be a strong contender for the best player in the Premier League, stepping up in the absence of Kevin De Bruyne. Brahim Diaz found himself in the middle of both Sancho and Foden. In his first season at Milan, he showed flashes of brilliance, including a memorable goal against Juventus. However, issues with physicality and the final pass cropped up during his time there. The following season was a mix of highs and lows for Brahim. He established himself as a first-choice player after a fantastic start, only to lose his spot due to inconsistency. However, by the 2022 to 2023 season, Brahim began to mature, showcasing his pressing abilities and electric play style. AC Milan had the option to make his transfer permanent for £30 million, but they hesitated, speaking to questions about his quality and consistency. However, this bit of luck led Brahim to a more prominent role at his dream club, Real Madrid. Most recently, he starred as the man of the match in the Champions League, round of 16 knockout tie against Leipzig. As we reflect on their journeys, what lessons can we learn? One undeniable lesson is the fine margins that can swing a career drastically one way or another. Sancho's bold move to Germany at 17 propelled him to stardom, but his move back to Manchester United slowed his progression. Had AC Milan activated Brahim Diaz's transfer fee, he might not have found himself as the star of crucial games for his dream club, Real Madrid. Foden's managed minutes, coupled with a sensible increase in playing time as he matured, worked perfectly for him. In conclusion, all three faced unprecedented challenges that they had to overcome to reach the highest levels of football. They backed themselves, took risks, and found success in different ways. Now, as they find themselves in the Champions League quarter-finals, scoring for their clubs, we can look back and see that Manchester City's vision for the academy has been a success over the last decade. As we examine their current standings in 2024, Phil Foden's star continues to shine brightly at Manchester City. His contributions have been pivotal, and his market value has soared, reflecting his status as a cornerstone of the team. Jadon Sancho, after a period of adjustment at Manchester United, has found his way back to Borussia Dortmund on loan, seeking the right environment to rediscover his form. Brahim Diaz, following a successful spell at AC Milan, has returned to Real Madrid, where his performances, especially in key matches like the Madrid Derby, have showcased his undiminished potential. Moreover, his decision to represent Morocco internationally has added a new chapter to his career. And so we reach the end game of our exploration into the lives of City's brightest stars. But the question lingers. Did they soar on the wings of their talent, or did the weight of expectation anchor their flight? As we bid farewell, ponder this. In the ever-changing landscape of football, are the paths chosen by Foden, Sancho, and Diaz a blueprint for success or a cautionary tale? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're hungry for more insights into the world where talent collides with fate, hit that subscribe button. This is prestigious sport, where every story is more than just a game.